Detroit never forgot how to build dreams, but sometimes it forgets the dreamers. This story, it starts with a man named Marcus Wynn. Not famous, not flashy, just quiet, steady, watching. A brutal battle for power, revenge, and justice unfolds. These aren't just stories. They're real lives torn apart by secrets. We dive deep into chilling disappearances, unsolved crimes, and the truths buried beneath the surface. Because in the world of true crime, nothing is ever as it seems. And the ending? It will stay with you. Subscribe, share, and join us as we unravel every hidden clue. Marcus, black man, 38, in worn dress shoes, standing outside a luxury dealership. No dialogue. He walked into Greystone Automotive at exactly 9:58 a.m. on a Tuesday. The kind of place where salespeople wear watches that cost more than most folks rent. Marcus? He wore a button-up 2 sizes too big. Scuffed Oxfords. A backpack with one strap busted. He asked to see the Phantom. Not a brochure. The real thing. A glass door closes in Marcus' face. They laughed. Literally laughed. Told him to try to use lot down the block. Security walked him out. No questions. No dignity. He doesn't yell. Doesn't beg. He just nods once. He didn't get angry. Didn't post about it. Didn't even look back. But the man had plans. And what came next? No one was ready for it. Greystone dealership, 3 hours later. Salesmen sip lattes. Dorshim rings, 12:42 p.m. A brand new, glacier white Rolls Royce Phantom pulls into the lot. Custom plates. Windows tinted just enough. The man behind the wheel? You guessed it. Marcus Wynn. Cameras catch a salesman sprinting to the car. This time, they open the doors for him. Asked if he'd like a cappuccino. Asked if he needed assistance. Suddenly, everyone remembered their manners. But here's the part they didn't know. The Rolls wasn't his. Not really. Archival footage, old court documents, flickering headlines. See, Marcus wasn't just some guy off the street. He was a digital forensics auditor. Worked in silence for years. Tearing down crooked real estate firms. And the dealership? Greystone Automotive? Yeah, they'd been flagged. Money laundering. Ghost buyers. Inflated titles. But no one could prove it until Marcus walked in. Marcus faced behind the wheel. No smile, just focus. That Phantom? It was seized property. Confiscated 3 weeks earlier in a federal raid tied to Greystone's owner. It was evidence. And Marcus? He was there to finish what he started. Flashback. Marcus in the basement, clicking through spreadsheets at midnight. See, 5 years earlier, Marcus's brother, Deshaun, had gone missing. Last seen leaving Greystone, supposedly for a test drive. Police called an accident, said he vanished in the city. No leads, no car, no witnesses. But Marcus never bought that. Old voicemail playback from Deshaun, voice shaky. Ayo, Marcus, I think something's off. These folks ain't just selling cars, bro. Click. Present day. Marcus steps out of Rolls. Face calm. So when they humiliated him, when they laughed at his shoes, his shirt, his name, they weren't laughing at a stranger. They were laughing at a warning. Because Marcus wasn't walking into a dealership that morning. He was walking into a crime scene. Grainy security footage from dealership lot. Days before Marcus's visit. A black SUV. A man who looks like Deshaun. Timestamp footage disappears. But the twist? There's more. Because in files Marcus accessed, buried deep in the dealership's off-site server, he found a name. One that shouldn't have been there. Deshaun Wynn. Marked. Asset number 74A. Internal transfer. Dark screen. Soft clicking of a hard drive loading. Not missing. Not dead. Transferred. But where? And why was the VIN number on Deshaun's last test drive car registered in Nevada, under a company owned by a missing defense contractor? Marcus in a storage unit, opening a crate. Inside, a Greystone dealership file folder, marked for internal use only. The humiliation was just the start. What Marcus found inside that folder changed everything. And when he opened the last photo in the file, he dropped it, stepped back, and whispered one word. Deshawn? Flickering fluorescent light in a storage unit. Marcus held the open file, hands shaking slightly. The photo was old, faded at the edges, but there was no mistaking that face. Deshawn, wide-eyed, shaved head, wearing a gray jumpsuit, standing in front of a chain-link fence, with a number stenciled on his chest. Marcus breathing heavily, pacing the unit. He flips through the folder. The file was thick. Dozens of names, dozens of photos, all black men, all in their 20s or 30s, each marked with the same code phrase: Asset 74 series, internal transfer, database screen, Marcus scanning VIN records, piecing together evidence. Marcus cross-checked each name. Each one had a car registered to their name, then vanished within 48 hours. No police reports, no news, no funeral records, just ghosts vanishing into paperwork. Every car passed through a shell company, most linked back to a building in Sparks, Nevada, a warehouse owned by a defunct military contractor, EchoSite Solutions, disbanded in 2017. But someone was still using their facility, and someone was still processing assets. Marcus in a motel room, watching a grainy video frame by frame. His eyes freeze. Then Marcus found it, buried in dealership surveillance backups. Footage from March 19th, 3 days before his brother disappeared. Timestamp 9:17 p.m. A man with Deshawn's build, being forced into the back of a black Escalade. He wasn't alone. 2 men followed. One wore a Greystone blazer. The other, a security badge that said Private Asset Recovery Unit. Real news clippings. Missing men. Unsolved disappearances. Disconnected cases from Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago. Marcus started matching faces. Faces from the folder to missing person cases all across the Midwest. No pattern, no media, just missing black men. All last seen near car dealerships, towing yards, or luxury auctions. Nobody noticed. Until now, Marcus visiting a woman in a small brick home. She opens the door slowly. Her name was Erica Miles. Her cousin, Tarek, disappeared 2 years ago. Last place he was seen? Greystone. She didn't know Marcus. Didn't know anything about asset transfers. But when he showed her the photo, she dropped it, burst into tears. "That's him," she whispered. "That's Tarek. But he looks different. Scared." Marcus pacing again, staring at a map. Red thread stretched from Detroit to Nevada. It wasn't about money. Not really. Something darker was happening. Something organized. He wasn't just uncovering a crime. He was digging into a system. And that system had teeth. "Market laptop Fayette." Then blue screen. Then shuts off. Phone buzzing with a blocked number. Then the threat started. First it was his files. Then his phone. Then a note slipped under his motel door. "Leave it alone, Marcus, or you'll end up in the next folder." Quiet night. Marcus in his car, breathing hard, hands on the wheel. He called an old contact, FBI cyber unit, Agent Carmen Ruiz. He gave her everything. The photos, the folder, the names, the video. She didn't ask many questions. Just said, "You're not paranoid. You're just early." Carmen at a darkened desk, whispering into her phone. "We've seen traces of this before. A program that shouldn't exist anymore. Private prison contractors, ghost recovery teams. But every time we get close, the trail goes cold." Carmen scrolling Marcus's photos. She freezes at one image, zooms in on a man's face. Then she saw something Marcus missed. A tattoo on the arm of the man pushing Deshawn into the SUV. It was small, just numbers. 7,410. Agent Ruiz gasped, because she'd seen that code once before. Flashback, Ruiz in Afghanistan. A secret contractor site. Men in jumpsuits. Experiments. Detainees. It wasn't a dealership ring. It wasn't a fraud scheme. It was a continuation of a black site operation. And somehow Greystone was part of it. A front for modern-day disappearances. erased from records, sold into silence. Marcus, loading his bag, turning off the lights in the motel room. His face hardens. Marcus wasn't safe anymore, but he wasn't stopping, because somewhere out there, his brother was still alive, and buried in that Nevada warehouse was the truth about what they were doing to these men. He just had to make it there. Alive. Marcus's phone buzzes. A single photo is texted from a burner number. It's Deshaun. He's alive, but not free. Dusty road cutting through the Nevada desert. A lone black sedan speeds forward under a pale sky. Marcus drove west for 14 hours straight. No music, no stops, just the hum of the highway. And the photo burned into his mind. Deshaun, alive, but chained. And behind him, a wall of steel and concrete. Zoom on the photo. Deshaun's face. Blank stare. Something off in his eyes. His brother was there, somewhere inside that compound. But Marcus knew one thing. If they sent that photo, they were watching him. Marcus pulls over, pops the trunk. Inside, burner phones, old laptop, black hoodie, binoculars. He wasn't just a grieving brother anymore. He was in deep. And this time, he was prepared. Carmen Ruiz, pacing in her apartment, phone to her ear. "You're already in Nevada? What are you thinking, Marcus?" He didn't answer, just said, "Either I find him, or I disappear too." Satellite map of compound. Former Echo site, barbed fence perimeter. No obvious way in. The compound looked abandoned, but satellite heat scans showed power surges every 4 hours. Timed, precise, like someone was running experiments. Marcus sneaking through a dry ravine, dust in the air, flashlight off, silent. He followed the dry wash, used it as cover, found a crack in the fence, slipped through. He was in, and what he saw didn't feel real. Rows of cars under floodlights, not parked but displayed, each behind glass. All luxury, a graveyard of stolen dreams. Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Maybachs, all registered to men who no longer existed. And behind them, rooms, each marked with a number, each with a single bed, a metal door, like cells. Marcus hides behind a wall, watches 2 guards escort a man. It's not Deshaun, but it's someone from the folder. They weren't dead, not all of them. They were being kept, used. But for what? Flashback, Carmen's voice, private prisons, ghost recovery units, human R&D. You're not just looking at trafficking. This is something else. Marcus finds security laptop on standby, logs and using USB bypass. Inside the system were files, not police files, medical charts, EEG scans, drug regimens. Each man had a code name. Deshaun was listed as Trial Group 74 Delta. Status, active. Marcus opens Deshaun's profile. Video file plays. Deshaun sitting in a chair, blinking slowly. Electrodes on his scalp. Subject responds to visual luxury stimuli. Dopamine spike consistent with pattern. Marked for long-term asset retention. Deshaun whispers, "I just wanted to test drive the car." Marcus leans back, stunned, tears in his eyes. It wasn't greed. It wasn't ego. They used his brother's dream against him. They didn't humiliate Deshaun. They hunted him, found his vulnerability, and turned it into a weapon. This wasn't just a prison. It was a behavior lab. Suddenly, alarm lights flash red. Marcus triggered a sensor. He ran, back through the corridor, heart pounding, but not before he downloaded the data. All of it, Carmen watching a live stream, footage from Marcus's body cam. He got inside. He got the data, but behind her, someone else is watching. A man in a gray suit, badge marked Echo Site Black. He smiles and mutters, "Let him run. We want the world to see." Marcus in his car again, blood on his hand, driving fast. USB drive clenched in his fist. He didn't just escape with evidence. He escaped with the truth. And the truth was terrifying. Because for every man locked up inside that compound, there were 10 more being watched, tested, profiled, and the same pattern was happening all across America. Marcus sent a file to 3 anonymous accounts. One is Carmen, one is a reporter, one is unknown. He knew he'd never sleep again. Not until every asset was free, but someone else was watching his every move. And the Rolls Royce was just bait. Las Vegas skyline at 3 a.m. Neon reflections flicker across Marcus's cracked windshield. Marcus didn't sleep. He just drove. One hand on the wheel, the other clutching the USB. Still warm. Inside it, everything. Test logs, brain scans, a hidden list called auction_inventory_XLSX. Marcus in a diner booth. Empty coffee cups. Laptop open. Carmen on the phone. You don't understand what you found. Some of these names, they're real people. Marcus, quiet. They're alive. And they're for sale. Spritzhits calling fast. Each entry has a photo, a luxury car type, neurological profile, and a date. Each name had a dollar amount, a behavioral tag, a drug regimen. Each man reduced a product, sold to unknown buyers. At something called the Black Auction. Flashback. Deshawn smiling at the dealership the day before he vanished. Deshawn wasn't taken by accident. He was selected, like a rare watch, a luxury good, and the Rolls Royce wasn't a reward. It was proof of ownership. Carmen Ruiz in a government building. Slammed doors. Paperwork denied. A shadowy figure intercepts her at the elevator. They've sealed the files. No trace of Echo site. No trace of 74 Delta. The man in the suit hands her a folder. Just says, "You can get this from me." Inside, a photo. Marcus, circled in red. And next to it, target, reacquire. Auction scheduled June 15th. Marcus in a motel bathroom. Washes blood off his knuckles. Opens a laptop again. They flipped it. Now he was on the list. His car? Tracked. His laptop? Compromised. Even the USB had a beacon inside. Marcus burns a USB in a metal trash bin. Watches it melt. He couldn't trust tech anymore. Couldn't trust Carmen. Couldn't trust the system. But there was one person left. Nico Denham, Oakland, California. Dark repair shop. Marcus knocks on a steel door. A man opens it. Rough beard, wary eyes. Nico was a ghost. A whistleblower from a defunct surveillance company. Used to track non-compliant assets. Until he vanished. Now he built Faraday cages and helped people disappear. Nico flipping through the auction files. Eyes wide. Do you know what this really is? It's not just about the men. He scrolls down. Reveals a new tab. Beta_set_spouses_children. Images of families. Wives. Children. Each with redacted lines across their eyes. One listed. D. Graves, son, age 12. They weren't just selling men. They were building generational inventory. Grooming next-gen test subjects. Or next-gen buyers. Because the experiment didn't stop at the dealership. Carmen alone in her car. Watching grainy security footage. Sees a name at the bottom. Project Chrysalis, Phase 2, Detroit. Another city. Another phase. Another community being mapped. Tested, tagged. Detroit wasn't just a location. It was the next lab. Flashback. Deshawn in his childhood home. A young boy stares at a magazine ad. Rolls Royce. Drive your worth. What if this whole thing was never about selling cars, but about selling desire? Tracking who wants it the most, then turning that want into a leash. Carmen and Marcus meeting secretly at a rail yard. She hands him a folder. Agent Carmen. Echo Site isn't a company. It's a network. Private prisons, medical labs, tech startups, interconnected by investment firms, Shellcore, and something called Asset Revival Group. Marcus. How deep does it go? Carmen. I don't think it has a bottom. Detroit street cameras blinking red. Facial recognition AI booting up. List of names populating. Deshaun, Marcus, even Carmen. They were building a database of every dreamer, every striver, every black man who ever reached for more and dared to want luxury, not to celebrate them, but to trap them. Marcus staring out at the Detroit skyline. He whispers, "We thought it was about the car, but it was always about us." Detroit, overcast skies, cracked sidewalks. Security cameras hum above rows of subsidized housing. Detroit was quiet, but not still. A new map was being drawn, not with roads, but with behavioral data. They called it Project Chrysalis. Carmen and Marcus, sitting in a parked car, eyes locked on a building labeled Wilson Research Institute. "Marcus, you said this was medical. This looks like a front." "Carmen, that's because it is." Flashback, government meeting in D.C., mid-2020. Slide deck flashes. Rehabilitation through integration. Chrysalis beta launch. It started as a mental health pilot. Promised to uplift underserved black communities. Free therapy. Free biometric wearables. But behind the kindness, cognitive mapping, predictive profiling, asset targeting. And Marcus was flagged twice. Nico Denham, reviewing old server logs from EchoSite, blinks, zooms in. "Gee, see that string of code? That's an activation protocol." "Marcus, for what?" Nico quiet, "For a trigger phrase." Marcus's flashback, being told by a dealership employee to prove he belonged. His hand twitched, his vision blurred. It wasn't just humiliation, it was conditioning. They were testing how far they could push him before he snapped. Carmen uploads a photo of Marcus into facial recognition software. Dozens of matches appear. Other black men, different cities, same behavioral tags. Carmen shaken. They're not testing people, they're replicating profiles. It wasn't one Marcus. It was hundreds, copy-pasted across cities, each one groomed, tracked, marked for auction. Warehouse in downtown Detroit. Men in luxury cars roll in silently. Inside, an eerie runway. Velvet ropes. Buyers in masks. It looked like a car show, but it wasn't about cars. The men weren't test driving anything. They were watching performances. Watching men like Marcus be observed. Back at the warehouse, a man on a stage recites a monologue. Behind him, a display reads, "Lot number 016, Marcus D. Graves, 94% viability." Marcus wasn't just a subject. He was a highlighted item. The auction was already live. And Marcus wasn't even in the building. Carmen's phone buzzing. Anonymous tip. "They've moved your file. You're listed as a liability." They weren't just coming for Marcus. They were coming for Carmen, too. Flash the black SUV following their car. Marcus glances in rear view, tightens grip on steering wheel. "Marcus, they found us." "Carmen, we need a broadcast." We go public. "Marcus, not yet." Nico flips open a battered notebook. Inside, a sketch of a server farm deep in rural Michigan. Circled. Root node, auction control, uplink. "Daddy, you want to break the network?" Then this is a throat. Rain falling hard. Carmen drives. Marcus and Nico gear up in the back seat. They didn't want revenge. They wanted freedom. But to kill the auction, they had to rip the system up by its roots, even if it meant disappearing for good. Carmen checks her phone. One final text appears from an unknown number. "There is no escape. You're already owned." The team walks into a dark forest. Lights from the distant server farm flicker like eyes. Every file, every scan, every humiliating moment, it all led here. Not to the dealership, not to the Rolls Royce, but to the place where control begins. Night, a low hum of wind, the outline of a hidden data center deep in the woods. Security lights flicker. This wasn't revenge. It was a reckoning. And it started with one plug. Carmen adjusts a hidden mic. Nico arms a small black case. Marcus stares at the trees. Marcus, quiet, I was never meant to be free, was I? Carmen? No, but we're rewriting that ending tonight. Surveillance monitors inside the server facility. A red blinking alert. Lot number 016, location breach. The system tracked behavior, predicted emotions, controlled movement, but it never expected defiance. Flashback. Marcus's file being created at birth. Labeled high anger response / low trust authority. Watch list potential. This didn't start at the dealership. It started in a hospital. Before Marcus could speak, before he could read, they built a prison out of data. Carmen, Marcus, and Nico move silently through the woods. Thunder cracks. Nico, the uplink is 30 yards north. Cut the fiber line. The network collapses. Carmen, checking her watch. We've got 5 minutes. Meanwhile, back at the Wilson Institute, men in suits scramble. A map blinks red. Detroit viability matrix failure. Manin Zoo Eat. Cut the satellite relay. Purge the lot files. Woman flatly. Too late. The subjects went off script. Flashback montage. Marcus is a child. Suspended in 3rd grade. Watched. Tagged. Labeled disruptive. No one saw the trauma. Only the data. This isn't just Marcus's story. It's every black boy they called a threat. Before he even raised his voice. The server room. Red lasers scan rows of racks. Nico cracks the floor panel. Marcus slides inside. Carmen into Mike. You're almost at the core. Marcus exhales. Let's end this. Inside the core, a spinning tower of light. Data streams pulse like veins. In the center, a silver console. One glowing button. Control reset. This is where they decide. Who rises, who breaks, who gets humiliated, and who never gets back up. Marcus places his hand on the console. Flash of light. His memories flood the screen. The laugh from the car salesman. His mother crying over eviction. The door slammed in his face. Carmen in earpiece. Marcus, are you still with me? Marcus, steady. I'm not just with you. I am you. He slams the button. Alarms. Static. Lights flicker. Screens across cities go black. Across the country, profiles vanished. Bidding rooms froze. Chrysalis collapsed. The system didn't break. It was made to be broken, just not by them. Morning, Marcus, Carmen, and Nico drive past the dealership. Empty, shuttered, for sale. Carmen, softly, back where it started. Marcus, no, that was the illusion. This is where it starts. A basement. Carmen sets up a laptop. Nico plugs into a server. Marcus stands before a mic. They didn't run. They rebuilt a new map, a new signal, a network built on truth, not profit. They called it the Echo Reversal. Marcus staring into camera. Marcus, if they could build something to erase us, then we can build something to remember us. Not just me, all of us. If you believe in uncovering the truth and standing for justice, we'd love your support. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your voice matters, and you help make this community stronger. We'll be back with another case, right here on Unraveled Crime.